this week we had our first look at proper uncut gameplay for Dragon Ball Sparking Zero. And after rewatching that footage over and over again, I want to go through everything that I found to hopefully give you a better idea of what is going on. What mechanics are they bringing back from Tenkaichi, and what are they importing from Raging Blast, as well as what is brand new about it. Everything's still under development, so things could change from now until launch, but this should still help you understand the game a little bit better. And we'll start with the HUD, which has some very obvious elements. That's the health bar right there, the number of health bars in the little squares, and your key. So far so obvious, but now it gets a little trickier. This number right here regenerates over time. Whenever the blue bar is full, it goes up a stock. The producer called it the skill count, and this is what we used to call a blast stock back in Tenkaichi 3. Different name, but kind of the same thing. Right next to it is an icon that they did not explain, but for now I'm going to call it a transformation stock. We'll analyze it later and you'll understand why I called it that, but there might be more to that icon that we don't know yet. Both of these resources just regenerate over time. As far as we know, there's nothing you can do to charge them faster. Back in Tenkaichi 3, you could reflect ki blasts, or block a fully charged smash attack in order to regenerate those faster. In this demo, they didn't do any of that, so we don't know if that's still the case. There is, however, a way for you to charge them slower, and that is to throw supers. You'll notice that the skill gauge here completely pauses when Goku throws a Kamehameha, so that is something to consider. Next up, we'll talk about movement, which has evolved quite a bit since the Tenkaichi days. Of course, some of the basics are still present, like the super dash. You just hit a button and it tracks the opponent, and you can still super dash directly behind your target just like you could before. But while it may feel familiar, a lot of the movement has actually changed and yet remained pretty complex. A big thing Tenkaichi players will notice immediately is that the character always faces the opponent no matter where they're dashing. There's a lot more animation work to make this possible, and overall, it does make the game look a lot better. But it's more than the animation. Sparking Zero actually adds new movement options. The biggest one, to me, seems to be the short dashes. For a little bit of meter, you can short dash around your opponent, dodging ki blasts and melee approaches, and even attack from a dash, punishing a reckless approach. And even though it only costs a little bit of meter for Goku and Vegeta here, this meter cost might be higher in other characters. Recently, we got a scan that talks about the differences between speed and power characters. And one of the things the scan mentions is that movement options take more ki if you are a power type. So characters like Broly and Kale will probably spend a lot more ki doing this type of movement, meaning they can't do it for as long as these guys do, but they do get more damage and health as a trade-off. There's one more movement option, and I believe this one is brand new to Sparking Zero, and it's called the Vanishing Assault. If you're in the mid-range, right around this distance right here, for about a full bar of meter, you can immediately show up behind your opponent. It seems like a very fast way to close in the distance, but only once you're in the mid-distance and have at least a full bar of ki. And that's pretty much everything I wanted to talk about regarding movement and the HUD. There's still a lot more to talk about, including combos and defensive options, beam struggles, and that mysterious transformation stock. And we'll break it all down after a quick word from today's sponsor. This video is brought to you by Playasia. If you're a fan of imported games, figures, or toys released not only in Japan but in Asia in general, then Playasia.com is your go-to destination. With over 20 years of experience in the industry, Playasia.com offers an extensive collection for you to select from. You can find some of the most popular Asia-only physical games, such as Like a Dragon Gaiden, The Man Who Erased His Name, Final Fantasy IX, and many more fan favorites that you cannot get a physical copy for anywhere else. The best part is you can get free shipping on orders over $99 as long as you keep the package under 2 kilograms, that is 4.4 pounds, and you can save even more on your purchase if you use my discount code Globku at checkout. This will give you 5% off anything you order, or almost anything I should say. It doesn't apply to gift cards. Yeah, that would be quite the money hack, but everything else goes, so what are you waiting for? Head over to Playasia.com today and start shopping with code Globku for a 5% discount. And thank you Playasia for sponsoring this video. Let's get into Lost Combos. If movement has given you new options and actually looks faster than Tenkaichi did, combos have stuck pretty close to what Tenkaichi and Raging Blast have done in the past. First of all, each attack seems to have been slowed down a little bit, which is gonna make them a little bit more deliberate. The game might not be as mashy as the previous ones thanks to this small change right here. You're still gonna have 2 attack buttons, a light and a strong attack for combos, plus a button for ki blasts, and a lot of the combos they're doing here are returning from Tenkaichi 3. For instance, here's the Dragon Tornado after a sweep, but instead of Trunks, it's Dispo doing it. Here's Berter doing an aerial barrage that's pretty much a 1-to-1 in Tenkaichi 3, and at the same time there are also some Raging Blast elements in there. For instance, Goku here does 2 vanishing attacks, which is something he cannot do in Tenkaichi. However, he could do that back in Raging Blast. Shoutouts to Grandmaster Hawk for this info, by the way. He's a Tenkaichi 3 pro that helped me figure out all of these specificities. He reacted and broke down the gameplay for 2 hours on his YouTube channel. Highly recommend you guys give that a look. Just like Tenkaichi though, you can spend a little bit of ki to vanish mid-combo or block string. Could be an attempt to gain your opponent's back or restart the combo, or just to get out of a clash situation. And so far, every time we've seen a strong attack mid-combo, it comes out pretty fast. An attack like this in Tenkaichi 3 would usually need to be charged up, so Either the charge up is incredibly fast now, or it's just been removed from the game and you just press the button. But that's pretty much everything we know so far in terms of combos. You can still end combos with a super for more damage, of course, and you can still boost supers. All that stuff from Tenkaichi is back. So let's get into defensive options, which to me is where you find the most changes from the previous games. There's so much you can do now. A lot of the previous mechanics are still in. Defensive vanishes are still free. You still have the Z counter system, both the counter that blocks and the one that goes into a vanish on vanish scenario. Those big Tenkaichi staples are still present. Now, we don't know if the window to Z counter is still a frame or 2 frames, but Spike Chunsoft is no stranger to doing some frame perfect counter systems, so I believe that will be pretty much unchanged. That said, they did add a couple mechanics on top of it. First of all, super perception. This one comes from Raging Blast, but you're essentially able to deflect a super attack for the cost of 2 skill counts. It's unclear what you can do after it, since Vegeta immediately transforms once this happens, but there must be an upside to using this over simply dodging the attack. This beam comes from very far away. Why would you spend 2 skill counts when you can just dodge it for free? But to answer that question, I think we're gonna need to learn a little bit more about the game. And another new mechanic is Revenge Counter. This one is a combo breaker. You use this while getting comboed, and once again, it costs 2 skill counts. You punch back and return to neutral, interrupting your opponent's combo. In Tenkaichi 3, there were some characters that had combo breakers before, characters with barriers or explosive waves, so you could use blast stocks to stop combos. And there was also a universal combo breaker mechanic called the Emergency Blaster Wave, but that would cost around 40% of your health bar and not blast stocks. So I wonder if Revenge Counter is replacing that system or if it's another one added on top of it. And those are your defensive options, but I'd like to wrap things up with a few other changes and adjustments done to various systems. First, let's finally talk about those transformation stocks. Much like the skill counts, these are generated over time, and when a fight starts, they cap at 3 stocks. That is the maximum that Goku and Vegeta are able to accumulate. When Goku or Vegeta transform, all 3 stocks are spent and they go straight to Super Saiyan Blue. Now, we know from previous trailers that this version of Goku and Vegeta have the following transformations: Super Saiyan God, and Super Saiyan Blue. So these transformation stocks seem to allow you to jump forms, and that's how they're able to go straight from base all the way to blue. That's pretty much the reason why I've called them transformation stocks, but once again, they haven't talked about this mechanic, so maybe that's not even the official name. In order to transform, they also use 2 skill counts, though it's hard to say if that's because they jumped forms straight from base to blue, or if all transformations will now just take 2 skill counts instead of a single blast stock like in Tenkaichi 3. And after they turn blue, something interesting happens. Both Goku and Vegeta will over time gain 1 more transformation stock. Only 1. That is the maximum amount. They never generate more than that. We don't know what this means at the moment, but I have a few theories. Theory 1, they are gonna need that stock to power down. If they want to go back to one of their previous forms, that's what this stock is for. Theory 2, these are not transformation stocks. These are something else that can be used for transformations, but also has some other use, for instance, a new mechanic that hasn't been introduced yet. And theory number 3, there's 1 more transformation for each one of these characters. Maybe Goku can go into Ultra Instinct, maybe Vegeta can go into Blue Evolved, which has a few roster implications, but since these are just theories for now, let's not read too much into it. Next, I want to talk about max power. This is when you're at max ki, but keep charging in order to enter a powered up state. Max power works very similarly to Tenkaichi 3 for the most part. You still spend a skill count whenever you use it, you still only have it for a limited time, and it's still the way you can access your ultimate attack. If you hit your opponent with your ultimate, it seems like they still lose track of you. It's tough to confirm that at the moment, but Goku's camera seems to lose Vegeta and then snaps to the right, locking onto him shortly after. There are, however, some significant changes. First of all, visually, this looks incredible. The sky going darker, changing the mood of the entire fight, really enhances a moment like this, and the music changes whenever a character enters max power. Back in Raging Blast, players could even choose the track that plays during this state, so I wonder if that feature is making a comeback. Another huge difference is after you use your ultimate. Previously, this would deplete all of your ki, but this time it seems that max power ki is a separate bar from your regular ki, as Vegeta just goes back to having a full bar after unleashing his ultimate. This removes some of the risk of throwing your ultimate and missing, so we might see more of these attempts than we did before. Let's talk about a fan favorite, Beam Struggles. It seems they brought back the bar system from the Budokai days. I'm sure everyone noticed that, but what some people missed is that there's actually a boost button down there. We don't know what this boost spends. Is it ki? Is it skill counts? But what it seems to do is unlock more of your bar. So you have a chance to fill it up more than your opponent if you want to spend the resources. And one final note is that non-flying characters will still fall slowly if they are stopped in the air. We only know this thanks to a small clip from Master Roshi, but you can see him slowly starting to fall after he lands this smash attack on Kakunsa. And that's the breakdown, but I'd love to end this video with a bit of feedback. I do love most of what they've done with the gameplay changes. They seem really positive overall. I have a few nitpicks, and since the game is still in development, now is the perfect time to address them. According to an interview, the devs saw that fans noticed Goku was missing his hair during a couple of frames during the last trailer. And because of that reaction, they've already fixed it. So none of this is hate for the game. It's good that we point these things out so we can get the best possible game at launch. Let's start with the positives though. I think having slower combos is good. It encourages less smashing and encourages players to explore their options more. If everything is just a flurry of attacks, then your options don't feel that different. By making the attacks slower, it makes you want to find the cool stuff, so it's a great decision in my book. More movement options is perfect. In my opinion, Tenkaichi Combat was always about movement first, and I think the short dash is going to be the mechanic to master here. The precision to place your character exactly where you want it in the least number of dashes possible, because it costs meter, it's going to be what separates a casual player mashing that button from a pro who knows exactly where they want to go. And I love how complex the movement still seems. I love that the skill cap there seems to be very, very high. And I love the new skill counts too. In Tenkaichi 3, blast stocks were only used for transformations, max power, and skills. Now we know that skills will be returning to Sparking Zero, the scan has confirmed it, so you'll still use skill counts for all of those things, but on top of it, you now have revenge counter and super perception to consider as well. A lot of moves are tied to that one resource, so how you spend it is going to say a lot about you as a player. Now here's the stuff that I didn't love so much. Camera motion like this cannot happen. It's always hard to predict how different moves are going to clash with each other, and the camera can behave erratically in those situations because there are thousands of possible combinations. But the more of these interactions we catch, the more we can prevent this from being a regular thing. Camera goes absolutely nuts in this vanish sequence, and the way the camera corrects itself is very jarring. This is probably not easy to fix, but we have to at least try. Next up, super attack hitboxes. Why is Goku so far away from this final flash? Let's maybe tighten those up a bit. In this situation, this isn't a huge problem since it is a part of a combo, but imagine trying to dodge this attack and getting clipped because of a wonky hitbox. And finally, I've said it before, but I'm not a fan of the music restarting after max power ends. In this single gameplay match, we hear the music start at the beginning of the match, when Vegeta's max power ends, and when Goku's max power ends at the end of the game. That is 3 times in a single match. No matter how good the soundtrack is, having it restart that many times is gonna get old very quickly. There must be a better way to bring the music back and not have to restart it every single time a max power ends. But I hope with all of that you understand the new systems better. Special shout out to Grandmaster Hawk for the assistance in today's video, and of course to our sponsor Playasia. Get your Asian exclusive goodies with a 5% discount using my link down below and code Globku at checkout. And if you'd like to watch my initial reaction to all of this gameplay and some new character reveals, check out this trailer right here. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.